So before we go over homework, in a perfect world, what I wanted to do, we're not in a perfect world. In a perfect world, what I wanted to do was have a practice day on this. We don't have time for a practice day. So this is kind of where we end. I just want to point out, and I see it every single year, that I'll have kids literally get lost on this. And I just want to point out how easy this actually is and that you shouldn't get this wrong. Okay, yesterday we learned 3 basic shapes. Here's one of the 3 shapes. Okay, this is the one where you got a bunch of parallel lines cut by 2 transversals. Danny's going to be up first. I'm going to pick on the same people I always pick on, just to show you how easy this is. It's easy. Danny, do you see any letters up here?
No.
Sometimes there might be a letter instead of a question mark. There might be an X. Clearly, if there's an X there, they're going to say find them, find out what X is. In this case, there's a question mark. So the way that you actually solve this is you just make a pattern and you stick to the pattern. So Danny, using the question mark, I want you to set up a pattern. That just means you pick 2. Pick 2 things up there. One of them's got to be the question mark.
The question mark.
That's one of them.
And number 2.
And number 2. So his pattern was question mark 2. You just follow that same pattern. So if he went there, what will be the other fraction? 8, and you really want to write 6, but that ain't a 6. That's a 4. Do you see what we just did? He picked a pattern. It could have been any pattern. He also could have picked question mark. Bailey, give me another number. Give me another number. Do you see her pattern? She went question mark 8. Karis, finish it. What will be on the other side? Following that same pattern on the other side. 2 and 4. 2 completely different things. Watch what happens. What's 2 times 8? Danny, watch. What's 2 times 8? Divided by 4. The answer is 4. What's the magic? 2 times 8?
16.
Okay. Get one more just to prove it to you. Give me a pattern. That's not the one that we use so far. Question mark and Chandler.
He's curly fries, not Chandler. 4.
He's going here, here. So on the other side, we'd have 2, 8. Watch the magic. 2 times 4 is 8. Oh, that doesn't work. Why doesn't that one work? Right? This is 4. So it's not just any pattern, right? You got to stick to the pattern. The other pattern I would see is here and the whole thing. So here and the whole thing is, well, that would be ugly because you'd have 8 plus question mark. Don't go there, right? Use those other patterns. All right. The point being is that the patterns, all you do is set up a pattern and it magically works. Okay? All right. So there's construction number 1, trying to show you how easy this one is. Usually it's that third construction if I'll lose someone. This one I usually get a lot of people get. And we did. We did fine. Here's that third construction. The third construction is when you have this angle bisector. Why don't you see anything? Because it's on freeze. Oh, that's why. Okay. Here we go.
Attention. I need kindergarten through 2nd grade to the gym, please. Thank you.
Okay. So this is the only one that's a little bit weird, so to speak, because we got a question mark. Right? If instead I move the question mark to right here, why would I do that? I don't know that length either, and I could get this question mark if I solve this one, adding it to 5. Okay? Now it looks more like what we had. All right. Give me a pattern, Chris, with a question mark. Question mark over 5. Question mark over 5. This pattern was this to that, therefore finish it. Same pattern. 6 times 5. 6 times 5. 6 times 5.
3.
Divided by 10.
3. Sorry, I'm not getting
Wes, give me another pattern with the question mark.
6 over.
Oh, 6 over question mark. I like it. Okay, so he went this to this. So what would be the pattern on the other side? 6 times 5 is 30 divided by 10. We still get 3. The point is, these are actually really easy. If you set up a pattern, you follow the same pattern. Like I said, I was always good at pattern recognition. Immediately I saw that, it's like, oh, this is easy. And all the classmates around me were like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm getting the wrong answer.
I literally sat in my computer for like 20 minutes. I was trying to figure out.
I mean, that's my point. Is by the way, we haven't actually answered the question. We answered what this was. Therefore, the question mark is 8. Okay. All right. But that's just to point out how these are actually low-level intelligence questions. But you got to have the class in order to realize that, which you have now. All right. The last one, and this is that first construction we saw. All right. So let's see. Where's the question mark? Right here. So Bree, you're up. Give me a pattern. And when I mean a pattern, I just want just one fraction with the question mark. Question mark 5, that's your pattern. That to that. Ferris, can you finish it? You went this to that. So I want the same thing on the other side. Well, there's no number here, but there's that. So that would be how much? I can't hear what you said. I think you're saying the right number.
8.
Over. Her pattern was this to this. If this is 8,
Oh.
2. All right, 8 times 5 divided by 2, and you're done. Doesn't look like it's 20, but it actually is 20. Right? Easy. If you set up the pattern, you follow it. I should not see people get these wrong come semester final or come the test tomorrow. Right?
Wait, what is the test tomorrow?
Test is tomorrow on the chapter, right? The big picture on this entire chapter is it's about similar shapes. It ends like this. This is the big picture here. This is pretty darn useful, by the way, in real life. If you're doing any sort of construction with anything and you have triangles involved, right? You just set up a parallel line to one of the sides of the triangle and you can figure out distances. It's a very useful skill. The rest of the test is on proportions. I'm going to hand out the practice test here in a second. I just want to point out that of all the tests I give, other than the proof, obviously, of all the tests I give, this is like an easy D. If you paid attention and you can solve a proportion. If you look at this, what I just wrote, this chicken scratch that I have on the board right here, and like, hey, what? How's he getting the number? That's because you don't know how to solve a proportion. Remember, to solve a proportion, you do the cross products. This times this equals this times this. Once you learn this in 7th or 8th grade, you learn that, oh, well, you still aren't doing it, but you say, well, I know what it turns into. It turns into 5 times 8 equals x times 2, x for the question mark there. You get 40, you get 2x, you divide both sides by 2. And most people say, that's too much work. I just know it's this times this divided by this. Yeah, we all do the same thing. But by the way, you are doing the algebra. Any question? Okay. Majority of the test is on solving a proportion. There's that one other thing, ratios, right? You remember, I'm going to point this out and then we'll hand out we'll go over homework and then I'll hand out the practice test. Do you remember the one that we had a triangle and it said the sides of a triangle are in the ratio 1 to 2 to 4? You remember doing that? And then it said, well, how big are the angles? Do you remember how to solve that? Okay. If I add up all 3 angles of any triangle, what do I always get?
180.
So the way you solve this problem, when it says the sides or the angles of a triangle are in the ratio of something to something to something, you just put an X on every one. Okay? I should have picked a much easier number. We're going to get an ugly number here. Let's see. How about that? 1 to 2 to 3. This one's nice and friendly. And you set it equal to 180. Why? Because there's 180 degrees, a triangle. 1 plus 2 plus 3 is Therefore, x equals. Therefore, the first angle is, you just said x was 30, so the first angle is 30, the second angle is, and the last angle is, I'll say that again, right? It's an easy question. They will give you a triangle. The ratio of the sides are something, in this case, 1 to 2 to 3. You put an x on 1, you put an x on 2, you put an x on 3, you set it equal to 180. This 180 comes from the fact that all three angles add up to 180 degrees. You solve it. We're going to get a number. Plug that number back in. 1 times 30, 2 times 30, 3 times 30. And there's your three angles. We haven't seen that in a while. I just wanted to point that one out. The rest of the test is pretty self-explanatory. Questions on that? Okay, let's go over homework. Let me pull up the review here. It's honors, that's regular. Okay. Stop share. Questions on the homework?
11.
Let's take a look at number elf. Nice Christmas.
Will Ferrell.
Why did I say elf? He said what number? He said 11. 11 in German is?
Elf.
Elf.
That's good to know.
All right, number 11. We've got that construction. We just did one like it. You've got the following construction. It's the third construction. You have 3 parallel lines cut by 2 different transversals. You're told 4x, 3x, 5x, and 15. Okay, give me a pattern. Let's use this 15 in the pattern, because it's the only one that doesn't have a variable. Give me a pattern. Anybody? 15 over 3x, that would have to equal 5x over, okay? Cross multiply, that's going to give me a 15x squared, and the other side, 15 times 4 is 60, is that right? Is that right? Yes? What's 15? 4 15s. 15. Count by 15s. 15 plus 15 is
75.
another one.
And then that would be 90.
And then 60. It is 60. We get 60x. I got to solve that. Right? All right.
Is that x squared?
So do you? It is. So do you remember? This is also why this is number 11. Do you remember that we just had a review on quadratics a while ago? It's a quadratic.
What?
Okay. So I'm going to move the 60x to the other side. So I got 15x squared minus 60x equals 0. You're okay with that? All I moved was the 60 to the other side. We're going to do that here in a second. Now let's divide both sides by 15x. Let's divide by 15x. So if I divide both sides by 15x, that would go into an x times, and 15 goes into negative 60, negative 4 times. And that equals 0. Why did I do it that way? Because we have this thing from algebra last year called the zero product property. When you have two things, look where my fingers are, 1, 2. Two things multiplied together, but the answer is
0.
how can that ever happen? How do you get 0?
By subtracting 0.
We're doing multiplication. We're not doing subtraction. How do you get 0 through multiplication?
We multiply by 0.
So that's the zero product property from last year. That either means this is 0, or they're both equal to 0. So you set them both equal to 0 and solve. So you set 15x equal to 0 and solve. All right, divide both sides by 15, you get x equals 0. Well, there's one possible answer. Take the second one. The second one says x minus 4 equals 0. Solve. And there's your answer. Boom. Why can't x be 0, by the way? We're in geometry. Why can't x be 0?
X has to have a value.
If x was 0, then how long is this thing? Well, that can't happen. So we call this an extraneous solution. The only answer here is x equals 4. There you go. 11 was hard, but that's the answer. Well, once again, that's why it's question number 11, not question number 1. All right. Notice all the previous ones were a little bit easier.
Super easy.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Here we go. Number 1 is no one. Or it's A, B, C, D, E, F. So A is no, B is yes, C is yes, D is no, E is yes, F is yes.
Make up your mind.
Exactly. 2 is the same problem, just to a different shape. A is no, B is no, C is yes, D is yes. Number 3 is 7.5. Number 4 is 35. Number 5 is 26. Number 6 is 12. Number 7 is 18. Number 8 is 30. Number 9 is 14.5. Did anybody leave them in fractions? Okay. Number 10 is 8. And we just did 11, it's 4. If there had been on this one 2 of these numbers without a variable, I would have chosen those 2 numbers. But since 3 of them had variable, you're not getting away with this not being a quadratic. Yeah. Do I have a pencil? I do. Only if you do something for me. What are you gonna do? Okay, good deal. We'll get one. All right. Any questions? Yes. Which one? 3 is 7.5. 4 is 35, and 5 is 26. All right. I'll collect that here in a second. Homework is going to be, no, it's not a handout. I do have the answers to hand out, but homework is going to be from the book. I only do this occasionally. By the way, e-learners, if you do not take your, these are pretty small. If you do not take your test on the day that they were given, you get zeros. If you run into any problems, hey, my computer crashed, the internet went down, I had to go to the hospital, I don't know, whatever it is, you have to call the school and tell us. You tell us nothing, and you take your math test supposedly on Wednesday, but you're like, yeah, I wasn't feeling it. I'm going to take it on Friday, you get a 0. Right? You have to take your test on the date. I'm talking to e-learners, not you guys. You have to take your test on the day that it is scheduled. So it looks like you're doing no test on Monday. Is that right? Anybody?
Yeah.
Anybody taking a test on Monday?
No.
Did your teacher tell you you're taking a test on Monday?
No, we're not taking a test.
Okay, don't take my word for it because I'm not your elective teacher. What do you guys take? Is that art?
Yeah.
Okay. Any elective have a test on Tuesday? Spanish, which is that, first or second? Okay, that's cool. Get that out of the way, right? So your Spanish is on Monday. Wednesday looks like the hard day, math and chemistry. Well, actually, Wednesday and Thursday are tough days, right? English, Lit, and history, right? That's tough. What's your history going to be?
Easy.
Probably over like.
Is it all essay questions or is it multiple choice? What?
It's probably going to be like a couple essay, like the importance of the Renaissance and
Oh, okay.
like, ways of thinking and stuff like that.
For me in high school, I loved those essays. I don't know. It gave me a chance to just say everything I knew about the subject, and if you wrote enough, then the teacher was like, "Oh my gosh, like, you wrote too much. I don't want to grade this." That looks good to me, you know. I don't know if that's what was going on in their head, but I kind of thought that, you know. I was like, unless they said write concise, I wrote as much as I could. Plus, there was something evil about the fact that I was writing, 2 or 3 pages, and I knew that the teacher had to grade it, you know. But it's not like I just wrote random things. I mean, I was like, okay, I learned this in high school. I didn't learn it in middle school. Middle school, I hated writing. I really hated writing things. And then in high school, and I remember sitting through so many classes, and my teacher would say, write an outline. And I used to think that was the dumbest thing ever. Like, why would I write an outline? Why don't I just write the paper? It seemed like a complete waste of time. And the issue was that I didn't fully think this out. And plus, you're not asked to write 3 pages in middle school. High school, you are, right? The nice thing about writing a quick outline, I don't mean like spend 20 minutes, but you just write down, okay, I'm going to talk about this. And then you got a nice, concise, way of writing something, and then you just expound upon each idea. And I just found that a really easy way. And I was like, yeah, give me an essay test any day over, fill in a blank or multiple choice or something like that. Okay, enough about me. So your test is going to be the chapter practice test. It's on page 279. Hey, the previous page says review. Page 279 says chapter test. That's the one I want you to do. 1 through 16 all. The test, as always, will look like a practice test. If it's on the practice test, it's going to be on the real test. Right? What's question 1 on the practice test? 279.
Rectangle have the lengths 20 and 32. Find the simplest form of the ratio of.
So I'm going to give you something that's going to ask you to make a ratio in the length to width or width to length, right? Easy money. And remember, that particular one says in simplest form, so it does want you to reduce. All right. As always, work. Don't waste your time in here. I'll hand you a sheet that has all the answers on it right now, so that you can check your work and make sure you're doing it right. Even though I have you do 2 proofs for practice here, right, there is only 1 proof on the test. 1 proof on the test, as always.
What about the final?
For the final, it's multiple choice, so if there is a proof, it will be, I will, have a fill in the blank proof, and you'll have to, like, hey, what's the next step? What should you say? That sort of thing. The final, I haven't made yet. Actually, I don't know. I have the one from last year. I don't know if I'm going to use it. I'll look it over. Last year, because we started late, we were not on chapter 7 at this point last year. We're still on chapter 5, I think. We got one. Yes. We're going to get through this whole book easily. What? It's only 14 chapters. We're on chapter 7. We're halfway through.
You got a chemistry book.
You got to ask her about that. I don't know. Yeah. Pretty universally for all the sciences, if you took a vote of all the people, they would probably vote chemistry as being the hardest science. Even in college, there are people that quake in fear of something called OChem, organic chemistry. If you're doing anything in the sciences or engineering, something like that, you got to take chemistry in college. And
Not organic.
Organic chemistry is a step above just normal chemistry. My best friend and adult friend that I have is a teacher as well, and she wanted to be a doctor. She's smart. She's way smarter than me. She's an English teacher, she always makes the statements like, "Yeah, I gave up being a doctor that when I started taking OChem, I was like, nope, not for me." Of course, I've never taken organic chemistry. I just took regular chemistry, but I kind of want to take it just to see if it's as challenging as they say it is. So, but one of my beliefs of what I will do, I don't know if it's true or not in retirement, is I'm going to go to college and just take random courses that, now that you have time to do it, just for fun, not for any specific reason. When I was in college, I would always look out in all the students, and there would be a couple really old people in there, and that's what they were doing. They're like, yeah, that's what they do for retirement. They go to college.
That's so horrible.
Yeah, it sounds horrible if you go to classes that you don't want. Yeah, but if you only pick the class you want to go to, I took one class. Was it one or two classes in computer programming? I just killed it. I was really good at it. In another life, that would be a job that I'd want to pursue. So yeah, I'd like to take a whole bunch of classes on computer programming because I find that fun. All right, e-learners, any questions? I don't want to ramble on. I'm rambling on right now. There are no e-learners on right now.